Okay, this was the week that we finally got to demolish love and respect once and for all. It was a good week,
Yeah,
Rebecca. I mean, other than the
it
fact that we were
was.
puking, other than the fact that we were puking and sick, which is why we
Well,
are
I was
not.
I never puked.
That
I
is a good
never
thing.
puked.
Yes.
I have had the flu all week. So
Uh-huh.
that is why I am on Zoom and look like this. Because this is me doing a lot better.
Yeah.
That for anyone, yeah, like this should tell you how my week has been. This is
Yes.
me doing
Yes.
far better.
And the kids were sick too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Connor
normally,
got through scot-free, so thank
yes.
goodness.
And normally we like to record these Friday videos, which we started last week was our first one. And we want to do these every week where we just kind of summarize like what's been going on behind the scenes, what we're thinking after the podcast, after everything launched. So we like to do these around my kitchen table, but I just didn't want to be in the same room as you. And you didn't.
No, we are not going to share this. This is not a good thing to share. Like,
Mhm.
no, no. If we were in kindergarten, we'd say, oh, no, friends, we do not share sickness. Like,
Yes. So here we are. So a bunch of stuff happened. Um, on Monday, we ran a post that was based on that we talked about on last week's podcast about Focus on the Family, talking about Jane and Jill from
yes,
1964 and 2024, and how, Jane was this part-time accountant who worked while her children were in school, and Jill was an OnlyFans creator pulling in 10,000 a month. And
yes.
yeah, their point was to fight against the sexual revolution, but it ended up being a commercial for OnlyFans. Um,
It's just terrible. Well,
it
and
was
it's
it
just
was
such a false
interesting.
dichotomy. It's again, you're comparing apples to oranges because you're
Yes.
comparing like the average 2024 house, like the average 2024, 2025 woman is not an OnlyFans model bringing in over 100K a year.
No.
That is not the average woman. So comparing
Mhm.
the average current sex worker to the
Mhm.
average part-time stay-at-home mom of the 60s is not a fair comparison.
Right. And
Like
again,
Jane, like their person from the 60s exists today.
yes, so they should have done that. But anyway, but that was more going on last week's podcast. I want to talk about this week's podcast because this
Okay.
one this one meant a lot to me. Um, because we started this whole process of looking at how evangelical books handle sex and marriage because I read Love and Respect that one Friday
Mm-hmm.
afternoon in January of 2019. Um, and from that, everything has grown. And every year, every January since, we've talked about love and respect. But this year was different, but this time it's different because Tropic Thunder reference to anyone who's seen it. Um, because we got to actually look at our data from our new book, The Marriage You
Yeah.
Want, where we measured what people actually say about respect. And it was a fun podcast. It was long. I know it's long, but I think it's my favorite podcast we've ever done. So episode 226, because I got to talk to you and Joanna, and then I had a great talk with my husband, Keith, and
Yeah.
it was really good. And I love
Yeah.
your
I
baby
think,
beavers thing. Your baby beavers thing is coming out as a reel soon.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
baby beavers, baby bunnies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Always. Well, I know what I have been harping on for so long, because we each have our own thing. The three of us all have like our things that are our things in
Yes.
this job, right? Joanna has the thing that just grinds her gears. Yours is just the entirety of love and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is really Shanti's questions
Yeah.
in for women only, and including the one that was used to bolster the love and respect argument. And by bolster, I mean we're talking Wizard of Oz level theatrics when it's just a dude behind a curtain, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing. It's all a joke. It's all just pomp and circumstance with no actual substance.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just bothered me so badly how I learned better than this by like at 19 in university. I was studying why this was wrong. And this
Mm-hmm.
is someone who is claiming and is trying to use the social trust of the institution of Harvard University
Yeah, she
to
says
do
she's a
stuff
Harvard
that,
educated social science
yeah,
researcher. Yeah.
that's what
Mm-hmm.
she used. She borrows the social trust
Hmm.
To break rules that I was taught are stupid to
Hmm.
break when
Hmm.
I mean, I wasn't even married yet and I got married at 20. Like
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
19 when I was
Yeah.
learning this stuff. Maybe it was 20 before I got married, but I did fourth year when I was married. So it was in third year that I learned it. So I may have been just freshly 20.
Yeah.
But like this is
No, her survey
I
question,
was
and for those of you who don't know, her survey question was, would you rather be alone and unloved or inadequate and disrespected? And because 74% of men chose alone and unloved, she used that to claim that men choose respect over love, which
yeah.
is so completely wrong. And we go in episode 266 of Bare Marriage, we go over why in detail. But yeah, all of her questions. We've
But
gone through other questions that she did too, especially when we were looking at the modesty questions.
yeah.
We're looking at She Deserves Better, our book She Deserves Better, and just really poorly worded. Like they don't pass academic muster. They barely pass Cosmo level style quizzes. Like these are
Hmm.
not real questions. And yet, why did nobody say anything? Like
Yeah.
her book was published in 2004. Why are we just debunking it now? You know, we are three
Yeah.
women from Canada who looked at this.
Yep.
Like, what? We don't have any institution behind us. And the only way that we can debunk this is if you all share it. If you all share episode 266, if you all share our information, if you buy The Marriage You Want, it's got some amazing charts about why this whole question was ridiculous and isn't valid. Um, but there were institutions like Lifeway Publishers, like
Yes.
Waterbrook Publishers, Waterbrook Multnomah, like Thomas Nelson, like Focus on the Family. There were institutions that could have said something that were promoting these books, and they just promoted them, even though it was so obviously wrong on its face. Even the fact that they asked men, but they never asked women. You know, I
Hmm.
wrote my very first Substack article published this morning, so please follow me on Substack if you're not following me yet.
Oh, I didn't actually. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's
I've
Substack.
been very sick, folks. I
Yeah.
have known nothing that happened this week.
Yeah, so it's substack.com and I'm Bare Marriage on Substack. And it published this week. And one of the first people to restack it, I love that phrase, restack, was saying, pulled out that part about how they never asked women and just said, like, this is so
Yeah.
ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, it's
Well,
ridiculous.
Well, and I
Like,
mean, we all have tipping points, right? For like why we start questioning things or why we start losing trust. And I mean,
yeah.
I've talked on the podcast before and in the newsletters before about how my tipping point was at age like 10. But there have been
Mhm.
multiple tipping points for myself. But the larger tipping point where I was like, I can't ever trust these people again. Like I can't ever is it was looking at how bad the research was and how
Mhm.
many people in evangelicalism looked at this and was like, so either the only two options in my brain are either they are not educated enough to not realize that this is bad, which means I cannot trust them
Mhm.
to tell me what is good,
Mhm.
or they are educated enough and they chose to overlook it, in which
They
case I
don't
cannot
care.
trust them. I
Yeah.
don't see another alternative because either it's ignorance, in which case I cannot trust them with mine or my children's spiritual formation, or
Mhm.
it's blatant disregard of truth, in which case
Mhm.
I obviously cannot trust them. And so it doesn't actually matter if they're just uneducated or if they're evil. It doesn't matter. The end goal, the end result is the same
Mhm.
because ignorance can cause just as much harm as
Mhm.
maliciousness
Yeah.
if too much power is given to someone who does not have the skills to wield it.
And the thing is, Focus on the Family now knows because we have pointed this out countless
Yeah,
times. So we've sent them emails that we know they have read because I have email trackers on. We know that it's been read by like hundreds of people because I can see it bouncing all across the country and they still choose to do nothing. So they know and they're doing nothing. So that shows you it's not just ignorance anymore. Um,
exactly.
yeah. So we got a lot of really good feedback from that podcast. A lot of people watching it, a lot of comments on YouTube and everything.
I also do want to say, like, for anyone who also has the same kind of like just deep despondence about it, just
Mhm.
understand there are so many areas of Christianity that are also intellectually
Yeah.
uh rigorous. So
Yeah.
don't give up on like if you're just feeling really despondent about the state of evangelicalism in like North America, check out a lot of the stuff coming out. There's a lot of great people in the UK who are doing really interesting
Oh.
stuff. There's lots of interesting people in Australia. Like there's if you just leave the evangelical kind of the North American evangelical bubble,
Hmm.
it does get a lot better. Um
Yeah. That reminds me of a
There's a
tweet
lot of great
that,
stuff in Canada too. Like I know, like America. I'm so sorry, America, but
yeah,
there is something about the American evangelical context that's just really rotten.
yeah,
But there's even like Canada's got some great people. Like just look at people who are not um associated with like the Gospel Coalition and Focus on the Family, and that's usually a good place to start.
yeah, and John Piper, yeah,
Yeah.
what's his name? John MacArthur, like just get away from that.
Yeah.
Okay, it reminds me of that tweet, I think it was last week that went viral, where one of those big Christian nationalist guys, I don't remember which one it was now, but he was talking about the fad of Eastern Orthodoxy and how it's
Yes, the
such a fad.
fad.
And it's like, buddy,
It's like
Eastern
my
Orthodoxy.
sweetest baby girl. Your church is less than 300 years old.
Yeah. No, like,
Like
and
the Eastern Orthodoxy.
his particular branch of Christianity is like, less than 40 years old or something.
Oh gosh.
And it's like Eastern Orthodoxy is older than Catholicism, people.
It is. Yes.
Like,
It's
it
like
was
sweet baby
the
girl.
original. It was, it's like, oh my goodness. And so he's talking about the fad of Eastern Orthodoxy when, honey, and I think that's part of the problem is that we don't realize that the breadth of Christian history and that there have been so many different, articulations of Christianity and people who truly love Jesus, but practice and manifest it in different ways than we see. Hmm.
I think what's interesting is there's a concept in psychology. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a teeny bit of a just bear with me, people. This
Okay.
is going to sound very frou-frou, but bear with me. There's a concept in psychology that it's not only individuals who go through the development process, but it's also any time that there is a group of organisms that exist together as an entity, it will go through its own development, right? So it's this idea that just like how we start with the crawling phase and then we walk and then like you go through these stages of development and it's especially cognitive development where we see the world in black and white and then we start to realize no it's about good versus bad and then we realize wait it's more complicated than good versus bad and then we realize it's about growth and we go through all these phases. Same will happen with organizations, with countries, with cities, with families, etc. And what I find really interesting is that I feel like a lot of these younger congregations and churches, I'm seeing this happen in real time, where they're
Hmm.
in their adolescence right now. And that's why it's so messy. All of
Yeah.
these Baptist churches and conservative churches, they're hitting puberty, where they think they know everything, but they don't have the wisdom of the years to understand they don't. And so the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church and all these churches that have been around for forever are just sitting there being like, what are you doing? The same way that we look at our 13-year-olds who say, Mommy, I love him. And it's like, you're 13.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Now, to
I
be
see
fair,
this happening.
this is not an ad for people to convert to Catholicism or Eastern Orthodoxy.
No,
Like we do. I
no,
do
but I'm
have.
saying that there is a pattern here that's happening though, where the brashness, the incredible like and I don't I genuinely mean like the arrogance of thinking I have all the answers despite being a congregation that is incredibly young as far
Yeah.
as history goes, that does not have much culture of its own, that has not had to wrestle through things for literally thousands of years the way that other denominations have. That
Hmm.
brashness is an adolescent brashness, and it's been very
Yeah.
interesting seeing like how I've been noticing that where it's like, "Oh, you're just going through you're entering
That should be the title of this video. Is your church going through puberty?
is your church going through puberty? Yeah, is your
Yeah.
denomination going through puberty? Like because there's
Yeah.
too much arrogance. It's unearned arrogance.
Hmm.
It's like you don't know as much as you think you know.
Yeah. And
And
speaking of
I'm curious
unearned,
to see what it looks like when you get the crash. The crash that we
yeah,
all hit at 21, we realize, holy crap, my parents did know stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And maybe that's what deconstruction is. Maybe that's what's happening.
Yeah, speaking of unearned arrogance, I do want to talk about Emerson Eggerichs again for a minute because I got a great comment I want to share.
Excellent segue.
But before we do that, there was a really good post um, by a guy I follow, a pastor named Sam. Oh shoot, what's his last name? Is it Powell? Um, where he just wrote how things when things look dark in your culture, we often want justice to come and the darkness to end, but if you look historically and you look through scripture, justice often doesn't come until the darkness is fully revealed. And there's usually a period where like things get dark. And I think right now, in a lot of areas of the church, things are getting really dark and in our culture. And that's why it is a difficult period that we're living through.
Hmm.
And I found that article really good. I'll try to remember to share it. But unearned arrogance. Okay. So one of the comments that we got on our blog, which I thought was really good, and I'll just read it quick, is I always understood men need respect to mean that all men have an emotional need to feel like they are respected. So there's not really a clear guideline for what a wife specifically needs to do. If her husband doesn't feel like she is respecting him, then that means his very basic needs aren't being met, and it'll be extremely difficult for him to be a decent human being. And I think that's exactly what it is that the whole point of this teaching that men need respect in a way that women can never understand means that women, you need, if your husband isn't feeling your respect, you're doing something wrong. And
Well, and
that's,
that's just in essence, it is.
yeah, and that's why Emerson Eggers could feel like he could label anything he doesn't like as disrespectful. So his wife tells him to stop leaving wet towels on the bed, you're disrespectful. His wife gets mad because you gave her an anniversary card instead of a birthday card, she's disrespectful. Like
Hmm. Well, and we know that like imposter syndrome is huge, especially among men, right? And it's a huge source of shame. But what is that form of respect doing? It's in essence just gaslighting men, but
yeah,
in a way that they think they want, and it's increasing imposter syndrome because it's not like it's changing reality. These men still know that they're not actually doing the things that they're getting praised for. They're not stupid. That's the
yeah.
thing. And as much as these books want to teach us otherwise, men are not stupid because these books
Hmm.
make it sound like men are stupid. They are
Yeah.
not. If
Hmm.
you can blow smoke up their butt as
Hmm.
much as you try, they're
Hmm.
still gonna know that you're blowing smoke up their butt, right? Like
Hmm.
they're not
Yeah, like
suddenly
like like
spending.
Josh Howerton, give him a crown and he'll become a king. If you give him a crown and he knows he doesn't deserve it, he is still going to
It's a
know he.
participation trophy.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know, like you say, you did such a good job, but he knows it's a participation ribbon,
Yeah.
right? It's just gaslighting. And
It is.
it might be gaslighting he's asked for, but
Hmm.
it's convincing someone that reality is not reality. It
And
doesn't
that's
matter.
that's actually one of the central problems with so much of marriage teaching and evangelicalism is it trains everyone to lie. It trains
Yeah.
everyone to lie. And so, just a plug here, The Marriage You Want is out March 11th, and our pre-order bonus is now available. So it
Oh,
is the
yay.
it's the alternate conclusion to our book. So we had this beautiful conclusion already, and just as it was going to the typesetters, to the printers, it actually made it to the typesetters. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I think I need to axe it because it was just too on the nose. It was a little bit too
Yeah.
controversial. I want this book to be able to be palatable even to people who might like love and respect. So we axed
Yes.
it. We
It's
did a
very
dip
it is very important that it's palatable to people who would like love and respect.
because
That's
we
actually quite
really, really,
important.
really want this book to break in so that so that some churches that have been using love and respect can stop and can use something healthy. So the book's available March 11th. You can get the pre-order bonus right now. And when you send in your pre-order bonus, you will get an email inviting you just to fill out the form so you can join the launch team. It's super easy to do. And then you'll get a link to join the launch team. The launch team starts January 27th, but you can fill out this form right now and then you'll be all set and everything will be all set to go. And the launch team is awesome. We always have so much fun. There's weekly lives, there's Q&As. You're going to get access to the book immediately. You're going to get a free audio copy of the book. It's just a really, really, really fun place to be. And there's lots of prizes throughout. Um, and all we're asking is that you write a review for Amazon and Goodreads. So please send in your pre-order receipts. Just forward them to preorder at marriageyouwantbook.com. The link is also in the YouTube comments here in the YouTube notes. Yeah, so just send in that link for the marriage you want. And it also has a study guide so that it can be used as premarital curriculum. It can be used as small group curriculum, everything. So it's got a great study guide. And yeah, we're just hoping that if we give another resource, that people will stop using these harmful
Hmm.
books. Because it's time.
Exactly.
It's time that we stop training people to lie, telling women the only way that you can get your point across is if you're passive aggressive because you're not allowed to be direct. And it's crazy. It's craziness. Can we just stop with the
Hmm.
craziness?
It's the real crazy cycle.
Yeah,
The
it's
real
the real
crazy
crazy.
cycle is just the idea of love and respect.
Somebody said that. Somebody said in the comments is that It was Emerson Eggers who caused my crazy cycle. Like I got on the crazy cycle
Yes.
because of him. It wasn't part of my marriage. It was Emerson Eggers. Okay, another
Mhm.
thing happened this week that I didn't talk about on the podcast or the blog really. I talked about it more on Facebook, but it was just interesting and sad, and I just want to talk about it. So there was a church in Alabama, quite a big church called Faith Church, pastored by Steve Husky, and a bunch of people after the sermon last Sunday sent me this link. Um, to a post that the church put up where it was summarizing the sermon. And I just want to read to you the points from this sermon, okay? That they're all proud to advertise. One, sex is a tool to help us fight sexual temptation. Two, if you have
Hmm.
any sexual desire in your life, you were created for marriage. Three, God uses sex with your spouse to help you live pure and overcome sexual temptation.
Hmm.
Four, there is a time and a season for married people to abstain for the purpose of connecting with God. Five, the problem in the church is that we have married people acting like they're single and single people acting like they're married. And six, the solution to sexual immorality is a godly marriage.
Yeah. What
So
I
there,
think is so funny whenever people make that idea, like if you have any sexual desire at all, you're designed for marriage. Okay, but what if the sexual desire is like for something that is not healthy? What if it's for
yeah.
really rough and degrading sex?
What
What
if
if
it's for
that's what you
children?
want?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if you have, like, are you designed for marriage then? Like,
Yeah.
or what about, or what if it's not even that serious? What if you have normal sexual desires, but you would, or, but you would just make a bad partner. There are
Hmm.
people who are like that. There are
Yeah.
people who are not going to be good partners. Are they designed for marriage, or do they need to say, hey, if this is something you want, you need to do the work because it's not guaranteed,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like,
I saw this amazing TED talk yesterday where the woman was talking about all these incels who shoot up schools, or like the van guy in Toronto who killed 10 people 10 years ago. Um and they do it because they say, no woman would sleep with me. And she's like, yeah, that's evolution. Like
yeah,
when you are a terrible person, people don't sleep with you because you're not supposed to reproduce.
yes.
You know,
It's
like,
bad for the world if you have more children.
yeah, it's bad for the world for
Yeah.
you to bring children in. And so, like, and you could word it in a different way. Like, some people might word that in a different way. But the simple fact is, that is society's repercussions for you being a bad
Like
person.
if you're an incel, like if you are
Hmm.
violent. And then
Hmm.
but the other thing, but if we're not even talking about people who would be bad partners, there's also just the reality that there are people who would make excellent partners who are still never going to find someone.
Yeah.
That's just reality. How is
Yeah.
this church supporting those people?
Yeah. If you
What
have
about the
any
people who
sexual
want to
desire
get
in your
married,
life,
who
you
want
were
to be a
created for
parent?
marriage. Yeah. It's crazy.
How is this church
And
supporting people who want desperately to be a husband and a father or a wife and a mother who it's just not in their cards?
yeah, it's not happening for them.
Like,
And
do
I,
they
I,
have
I want
any
to,
alternative?
yeah, and I want to say, like the basic message about marriage in this post is that marriage is the tool to stop you from sinning. Not marriage is the
Absolutely.
tool to build intimacy and connection and to reflect Jesus to the world and to, allow you to do more with your life than you could. Like, none of that. It's just marriage is the tool to stop you from sinning. And specifically women are sin management tools for men is really the message there.
Absolutely.
So I just want to talk about what happened with the interaction here is that a lot of people were sharing this, a lot of people were coming on and leaving really heartfelt comments about how this isn't safe, this isn't good, like you shouldn't be saying this is really harmful. And the church community really doubled down, and it was really sad because people were saying, oh no, he's just so courageous because he's teaching God's truth. And they just weren't listening. And a lot of people were saying, well, if you listen to the sermon, you need to listen to the sermon, not just read the synopsis. And it's like, well, if the synopsis doesn't reflect the sermon, then take the synopsis down.
Yeah, then it's a bad synopsis.
Yeah, but it did reflect the sermon, and the sermon was really bad. But I guess it just left me a little bit sad, the whole thing. I was very glad for the people who spoke up, and the fact that we even heard about it is because people in the church were concerned but didn't feel they could
Hmm.
speak out, so they were sending it around to different people and asking them to speak out. So, there are people within this church who do see the truth. But I guess what just makes me sad is when you give a really good explanation and argument on why this isn't true, people still double down and they say, "Oh, he's a great preacher," and you just don't love the word.
Hmm.
And it was just hard to see that in real life. I mean, we get that all the time, right? You just don't love the word.
Hmm.
You go against the word. You don't trust God, etc. Whenever we go against the typical evangelical way of seeing marriage and sex. But yeah, it was just sad to see it in real life. And it just reminded me we still have a lot of work to do. That's where we need to break in. And the only way we're going to break in is if all of you guys listening speak up.
Hmm.
Like
And it
just
also is why we decided to change the ending of The Marriage You Want, because
Mhm.
there are people who are not ready to hear, quite frank, like a manifesto for
Yes. But
equality.
if you
But
want to read
they
my
would listen to a book
manifesto.
that preaches equality. Well,
Mhm.
they'll read a book that preaches equality, that teaches them healthy things, that helps them replace unhealthy mindsets with healthy ones, as long as it doesn't use the dog whistle buzzwords. If you'd like to hear the dog whistle buzzwords chapter, make sure
Yes.
you pre-order and send your receipt to the link in the description though, because it
Yes.
is really good. It is really something.
Yeah.
And if you're here listening, that means you've listened to it. You're gonna like it.
You're going to really like the conclusion. So send your pre-order receipt to preorder@marriageyouwantbook.com and please join the launch team, everybody. It's a real encouragement to me when there's like hundreds and hundreds of people in the
Mhm.
launch team. I really enjoy it. Let me also just tell you, and I put this up on Threads yesterday, but let me just, as an author, tell you why pre-orders matter. Okay. Because people are like, well, I'm going to buy it anyway. What does it really matter? It actually matters. And here's why. When you pre-order, you give the signal and publishers see the pre-order numbers. They know, oh, this book is actually got some buzz, so we should dedicate more money to marketing. So it actually
Mhm.
affects how much money gets put in marketing. When you pre-order, the online retailers realize, oh, this book is actually going to do well, so I better order more. I had a situation when one of my books was out in 2015 where I told the marketers, look, I'm going to be doing a big push for this on launch day. You need to have books in stock. And they didn't. And then it was sold out by 10 in the morning. Right. So
Mhm.
and you don't want that to happen because if a book is sold out, people don't buy it. So when you pre-order, you tell the online retailers, make sure you have huge stock. And so that
Mhm.
really helps. You get it up so that other people see it when it gets up on bestseller lists in your category. Physical bookstores often choose what to order, like new releases to order based on how well they're doing on pre-orders. And then on sites like Amazon and christianbook.com, they decide what books to put on sale based on pre-order numbers. So the more people pre-order, the more they'll put things on sale, and you are guaranteed the lowest price. So if you
Yes.
pre-order today and then a whole bunch of people pre-order, and so by like February 30th, February 28th, um, the price is really low. That's the price that you will pay. So pre-ordering really helps. It helps me, it helps you, and it also it's just stressful when you have a book coming out in the world.
It
And
is.
yeah, knowing that people have already bought it and people are excited about it, it helps my mental state too. So
Mhm.
please pre-order, and I would love to see you in the launch team, and I would love to get you that pre-order bonus. So send in your receipts to preorder@marriageyouwantbook.com. Join me on Substack. You can read my huge long first post where I just detail our whole history with love and respect and outline why that survey question was so bad. Um, and yeah, and just another reminder too, everybody, all creators have noticed this in the last 2 weeks. Things have gone nuts on social media. I
Yes.
think it's because the US is preparing for TikTok ending. Um, and so they're devaluing everybody's posts and they're changing what they're looking for. And so people are seeing like a quarter of the reach that they got 2 weeks ago. And we've seen that
Yeah.
too. So the only way to get our reach back is if you engage. So every time you see something from
Mhm.
me, like and comment, even just to say, with you, cheering you on. Like it doesn't need to be a huge
Or
long
commenting for the algorithm.
yeah, it doesn't need to be a huge long comment, but just like and comment everything and share because that tells the algorithm, oh, this is actually something important, and that'll help you see more of my posts in your feed. And do that not just for me, but for any creator that you really enjoy and want to support and want to make sure that they get a bigger platform. Because a lot of us, we don't have focus on the family behind us. right? Like we don't have these big organizations. We don't have the big conference circuit because we've been blacklisted everywhere. But what we do have is you guys. And so you guys are our secret weapon. So just share and like, and let's get the word out there that love and respect is garbage, hot garbage, and we can put it behind us now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we said last week that these are going to be close to 7 minutes. Theoretically, at some point they will be. But we figure at last week everyone said that they listened to us while they were on their lunch break and they just had their coffee and their lunch while they're listening to us and stuff like that. So happy to be here on your Friday lunch break or when you're
Yes.
just procrastinating from work. But I think
Yes.
that's all we have this week.
Yeah. And we will see you again next week.
We
And
will.
yeah, and hopefully we'll be in the kitchen together again. Okay.
Yep, I'm
And
gonna go and write this week's newsletter.
and next week you will be 30 because
That's
you are
right. I'm turning
30.
30 on Sunday. My
Yeah,
30th birthday's
so
on.
happy
Pray for
birthday.
me that I am no longer sick so I can get together with one of my best friends and do something. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go and I'm gonna write this week's newsletter. Quick shout out, because if you are not signed up to the newsletter, if you sign up when you watch this video, you'll probably still get this week's newsletter.
All
So, because
right.
it goes out about 4 o'clock this afternoon Eastern Standard Time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
bye.
Bye-bye.